He's backstage. He's ready for you. Are you ready for him? Misha Collins!
You're like, he's ready for you. Are you ready for him? You never asked me if I was ready.
That's true.
Sorry. How do you know that?
You're right. You're right. Next time I'll stop.
I feel very not ready.
I know.
And it felt like you were drawing attention to that.
Yeah, no, that was my bad. I should have stopped the show, gone backstage.
And then say, Misha, are you ready? And then I can say, no, I'm not. I'm doing my routine to prepare.
Right. Get away from you, guy with microphone.
Yes. I don't even recognize you with your non-beard.
That's right. Where's Bob? What have you done with him? And,
Hey, how's it changing the way people interact with you?
a lot of people seem disappointed in what my face actually looks like. Thank you. Except for, we love you no matter how disfigured you are. Ruth, when I came downstairs at our house, Ruth was like, oh, you have to give me a warning? This is you pledge your love to.
When you're making out, does she like? She'll kiss your forehead. My father had a beard my whole life. Like the pictures of me as a baby, it was like a 1970s beard, here, and then eventually he turned it up to like a beard like you've had for a long time. But it was starting to get gray. He got it into his head that it was making him look old. So when he turned 60, his birthday is New Year's Eve. I was sitting on the couch downstairs. He came downstairs, and when he turned 60, he shaved his face, and I saw an intruder in the living room. No joke. I was like, who the fuck is that?
Crazy. Yeah.
But now I think it looks perfectly normal.
And so he stayed that way.
He stayed that way, and he didn't lose many friends.
Oh, that's it. We should say the same.
Is that why Mitch isn't here this week?
That's what nonetheless,
Misha Collins. I think he looks quite fashion.
You're so pretty!
Aww.
I love you, Misha. Thank you. You're okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Exactly what I was in here. You're okay. And it's nice to have some candor, some honesty. My father is from Denver, so I have a personal connection. I don't really have any stories, though, to go with that. My dad was, I'm trying to think of all my dad's stories. That doesn't really. I know that my dad got a bow and arrow when he was a kid, and went to a playground and shot it up in the air, and there was a girl on a swing set, and it landed in her thigh, and he did the right thing. He
Ran away.
Those are my people. Wouldn't it be amazing if someone was like, that wasn't me. Hi, do you have a question for me? Save me from revealing more family secrets.
Well, we thank you for GISH.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun, and he brings out a lot of interesting qualities of young people, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of people's worst qualities.
And I was just trying to think of something fun to ask you, because seem like you like to mess with your fans on Twitter a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I need to know the answer to, did you go back and get your AirPod?
Out of the urinal?
Yeah. So I had to ask.
What do you think?
I'm trying to give you advice and tell you not to. So we were hoping that was the right way.
The right choice
Choice.
to leave an expensive piece of high-tech equipment for other people to urinate on? That's a terrible thing to do. No, I simply
Did you auction
licked it off and
auctioned it off? You could have had it auctioned.
auction it off. It's not. Okay. That's a great
Good
idea.
save.
Let's just see how fucked up my fans are. How many people are testing? It's not even. That's a great response to the lighting cue, folks. Let's take a look. Oh yes, very, isn't it? I recently put my AirPods through the laundry again, and one of them still worked. It's so amazing. And then I had to bring it back to the Apple Store. This shows what kind of integrity I have. I brought it to the Apple Store because I had the warranty on it. If anybody works at Apple, maybe don't run this up the flagpole at work. And I said, there's something wrong with my AirPods. The left one is not working. And he was like, well, all right, let's check it out. Any water damage? I said, I don't think so. It's terrible. That's basically stealing.
Definitely not water damage.
No, not water damage. It must have been the dryer that did it.
I don't know how you're supposed to follow up with that.
Hi.
Hi. So we all have that one song that we listen on repeat. Like mine is Aha, Take On Me. What is yours?
I don't have one. But I recently listened to a podcast about people who have songs stuck in their head on loop and it never stops. And apparently that's a thing. And then I brought it up with a friend and they were like, do you not have songs like that? And so luckily, because I listened to this podcast, I was able to diagnose a friend with a serious psychological disorder. What do I have stuck in my head all the time? That's none of your business. This is where private things happen. I used to, I was just reflecting that I want to get a record player again because I love actually listening to albums, and I don't actually do it that much when I'm listening to my, I don't listen to music on iTunes or whatever. It's more like stuff is on random play. But there's something so nice about listening to a whole album back in the day. And when I was a kid, I had a record player, and I had, maybe a dozen LPs. Like, I didn't have a lot of records. So I would play the same things, like Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, and Buffy St. Marie, and a few other things. That basically I had my mother's hand-me-down records from, the 70s, and that was my music. Donovan, like real, bona fide 70s hippie music. The Beatles. That was what I listened to. But it was kind of great because you really got to know those same songs on repeat. My kids, my daughter will listen to Fireworks. Katy Perry. and it's unending. And then my son he just wants to play all of the songs from Hamilton. And he knows every word of every song. And Mason will scream at the sound of Hamilton, like acid is being splashed in her face. So it's a constant source. It's funny, your question is actually bringing up a lot of like family trauma. So I'm always like, no music for anyone! Everyone shut up! So I'm really a great parent. Yeah. Music, they say, brings people together, but in my house it just drives a wedge between us. Hi.
Hi, Misha. I'm Rosa.
Hi, Rosa.
Oh, I'm having like a strike moment. Hold on.
Okay, we'll wait.
It's been an incredible. Yes, really, I'm talking to Misha. You have to breathe. It's unbelievable. I won this gold ticket. I came here last year. I paid for it, but this year I was so lucky. I won this. I want to ask you.
You won it?
I won it.
Yeah.
Mission Entertainment is amazing. They say enter to win, and it was one of the luckiest.
Really? That was good advertising for Creation Entertainment. Creation Entertainment is amazing. They saved my life. It's very nice.
But now I want to ask you a question. So
Okay.
First of all, I love the yes day. I see you in Insta. That was awesome. You with makeup, you're great.
Oh, thank you. I look good as a clown.
So my
It was
question
funny
is,
because my kids were like, okay, so recently I posted a photo, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, Rosa. So recently, we used to do this thing when my kids were really little, of doing something called a yes day. And the yes day would just be like, I would just follow the thread that the kids, whatever the kids wanted to do. If they wanted to go bowling, we'd go bowling. If they wanted to go to the playground, we'd go to the playground. And so it was like the day or two before I had to drop them off for school, and then I'm relocating to Atlanta where it's going to be, I'm not going to be seeing them as much, so I just wanted to give them a little special time. I was like, let's do a yes day. You guys have carte blanche. And they were like, this is so nice, Dad. We're just going to fuck you today. And so everything we did that day was actually just about tormenting me. So it was like, first we're going to do a makeover. And as they were doing it, I was like, those are strange colors for a makeover. And also, that's not makeup, that's paint. While Mason is like painting my face and West is occasionally jabbing something in my eyeball, he's down here with a pair of scissors cutting my light hair. And I'm just like, oh, great, I have to say yes to this, huh? We had very few rules. One of them was you couldn't do something to your sibling as like part of the yes day. And like we laid out these rules in advance because I'm not an idiot. But I didn't do it for myself. There was nothing in there to protect me because I was just thinking about them torturing one another. Idiot. Go ahead.
That's a lot. That was great. My question is kind of serious. Being in the show as Castile, close to them, do you have a particular inclination to any kind of spiritual belief or energy or religion? And you don't have to answer, you don't want to, but since I get a question, I ask.
Thank you for asking that question. It's a funny thing in this modern world with so many diverse spiritual paths that people can take. And it's interesting, just hearing you ask that question, that it's a realm that can be private, which is, I don't often reflect on that, but it's not like a cocktail party opener. Often people say, like, what do you do for a living? But they don't say, what's your religious practice? But I have to answer your question. I think I consider myself, I don't know why I'm hedging, I consider myself a Buddhist. But Buddhism
as far as I understand it, in its pure form, is not really a religion. It's more of a science of life and a practice. I do a lot of meditating, but I think the core principle of Buddhism that is a guiding light for me is that if you really pay attention and stay present and can really be in touch with what's going on in your body and in your mind, then you can actually use that as a guidepost to making good decisions in your life. And when you aren't making good decisions in your life, it's because you're not really paying attention. And the more you practice and the more you meditate, the better your life gets, but also the more positive impact you have on other people. That's basically like distilling it to its core is what Buddhism is about. But it also allows for a mystical and an unknown aspect of the spiritual realm. So it's not so much necessarily personifying a god. Like it's not like there's someone that's sitting up there behind the pearly gates on a cloud throne, but it allows for expressions of the unknown, which is also very simple.
Thank you, Misha. That was
Yeah.
very insightful.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hi.
And my question is, if you had to choose a day on set, which day would you choose to live again and what happened that day?
Hold on one second. I just wanted to add one thing to that last comment, which is that that there are I know a lot of Buddhists who are also like priests and practicing Christians, or like there are people who belong to other religions who also practice the tenets of Buddhism. So I really do think that it's something that is outside of the realm of religion per se. It's not necessarily important. What day would I live on repeat on Supernatural? Is there another question that I can answer? I felt bad for James up here. The last question he got was, who do you like more, Jared or Jensen? And I'm sure he could have answered like, who do you dislike more? That's much easier to answer, right? I think like, what's your worst day on Supernatural? I can answer that one. I don't know. You know, it's funny, my last day on Supernatural was like this unbelievable emotional roller coaster for me. The last day of shooting was also the last scene where Castiel, you know, makes his declaration of love and then gets taken away by the empty. It was saying goodbye to a character, saying goodbye to the crew and the cast. It was the last scene shot at the end of the night on a Friday after a long week of shooting. And when I was done, I would go home and never come back to the Supernatural set. I didn't know that at the time, because at the time there was a plan for me to come back in the last episode, but COVID shut that down and they had to rewrite that last script. And I got like to an emotional level on that day of shooting that I don't remember getting to on Supernatural. Like it was really, like, I was feeling all of those feelings. And it was all enmeshed. I was saying goodbye to the cast and the crew, and cast was saying goodbye to Dean, and I was saying goodbye to the cast. And after working on the character, embodying the character for 12 years, it kind of starts to add up. So it was super intense. And then we all went to our trailers after finishing, and then the first AD said, "Hey, Mish, there's something we wanted to wrap up. One thing we forgot up on set." So we went up into the kind of lighter set, and it was like a little surprise goodbye. And they put together like this retrospective video on a big monitor of like Castiel's moments and some of my moments in the last 12 years. And then there was a cake. We all said goodbye. And then that night, we were flying to a convention in Vegas, and COVID was just starting and everybody was like, should we be doing a convention? It wasn't like things weren't shut down yet, but it was starting to get like maybe custody. And then we got on a plane and they had to charter a flight that night because we were shooting so late and had to be there so early in the morning the next day that there was no commercial flights that would get us there in time. So we got on this plane, took off, and we flew for about 20 minutes, and then there was this blinding light and explosion, and then the plane started shaking like this. One of the engines had literally blown up. Like, the metal was like shredded on the engine. And then we had to turn around and do this emergency landing, and as we were coming back in to land, you could see this like 6 fire engines on the tarmac. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're coming down. And as we got into cell reception, low enough for cell reception, all of us were like texting, like, tell the kids I love them, because we didn't know if we were gonna die. So it was like this the whole night was, the whole day was just this amazing, like, I actually then also literally basically said goodbye to my kids, because we didn't know if we were gonna survive the landing. I mean, it was pretty, plane was not in good shape. We got outside and looked at it, it was like, oh my God. Mangled metal. So that day, it's not really one that I would want to live again, and I'm not into professional. But I also am somebody who likes to chase peak experiences and feel things intensely, and that day checked all the boxes. There you have it. It's a non-answer to a good question. Hi.
I'm Gabrielle.
Okay.
So you gave me and my sister perhaps the weirdest compliment we've ever received.
You're welcome.
The weirdest compliment you've ever received.
What was the compliment that I gave you?
So it was back at the Tattered Cover when you did the signing, and we moved seats to accommodate for somebody, and you told us we were real humanitarians who deserved a higher place in the afterlife, which is very kind, but like a very strong thing to say. Thanks, but whoa.
That's a good compliment, though, isn't it? Because I could have just been like, oh, that was very nice of you. But no, you're going to a higher place in the afterlife. I don't know why this is popping into my head, but when I started dating the woman who would become my wife, we were 16, and her mother was not keen on this. And she was like hell-bent on us not, doing the before we got married. Which, as it turns out, was not in the cards. I went down to visit, and I was expecting to stay with her, with my girlfriend, and I ended up staying in the neighbor's basement. But I was allowed into the house, into the living room or the kitchen during the daytime. And Fran kind of interviewed me, and we had some conversations, and then later she told Vicky that I was, here's the compliment, not bad for the product of divorce. So there.
Not as intense.
Yeah. Thanks. I don't know why that came in my head, but stuff with it. Hi.
Hi, Misha, I'm Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
Thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks for being here. I was just stuck in a weird thought loop of, we're at a convention about supernatural and fighting demons and the characters on the show, and I'm talking about, not having sex before marriage when I was 16. What is happening here? Hi.
Hi. Where's the most beautiful place you've ever hiked?
I just went on a beautiful hike in the mountains here yesterday. You have some, I don't know if you know this, but there's some really nice mountains around here.
My dad took, well, he wanted to take me and my brother on a little tour to see the stomping grounds from his childhood. And so he took us up to Long's Peak, and we did some we went off the trail and did some scrambling on a boulder field, and started this avalanche on a boulder field. And this was the most terrifying thing, because go look up like a quarter of a mile above us and below us. We were just in this big mass of rocks, and we were 45-degree angle. And they all started moving under us. And we were just scrambling to stay on the top of the surface of these rocks that were slowly shifting under us. It was the most terrifying thing. That was awesome. I did a hike on the Annapurna circuit in Nepal that was just mind-blowingly beautiful. And you come around these little beautiful grassy ravines where they had these tiny little stone huts where they were grinding grain on little water wheels with these tiny little streams, only 12-inch wide little streams that one grain would drop at a time, very slowly on this old stone wheel. And they're just grinding away unmanned in the Himalayas. That was amazing. And the Pali Coast Trail in Hawaii is really beautiful. I took a hike from the rim of the Grand Canyon, also with my father, because this is my dad's day, I guess. So rim of the Grand Canyon, and we were there in the summer, and there were all these signs that said, "Do not attempt to hike down to the river and back up in one day." And so I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go down to the river, guys." And my dad was like, "I'll go with you." And he was in his 60s at the time, and so we started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We got down to the river very quickly, it was maybe 6. And then turned around, it was a 20-mile loop. And we brought no water.
Oh my God.
My dad was in these boating shoes. And he wasn't in great shape. And so it was whatever. 1 o'clock in the morning, no flashlight. He is trudging up the hill in front of me, and he's doing 1 foot in front of the other at this pace. And then he starts going like this with his right hand. And I was like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And he said, I just can't feel my fingers. And I had just finished this EMT course. So I was a certified EMT, but I really didn't pay attention. And I was like, "Shit, Dad, I think that means you're having a heart attack." Which, by the way, if you think someone's having a heart attack on a trail in the middle of nowhere, you don't tell them that. But I had this vague recollection that might be a sign of having a heart attack. But then I started running in circles because I was like, "But I don't remember what you're supposed to do." Super helpful what I'm doing. Eventually, Rangers found us. He was fine. He was fine. He was probably having a very mild heart attack. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Misha. I'm Sean.
Hi, Sean. How are you?
Добрый день.
Добрый день. Как дела?
Очень хорошо.
Have a seat.
So we hear at the cons a lot that commonly you'll have people come up and show you that they have tattoos of you on their person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'd like to know is, if we were to find out that Misha Collins has a tattoo of his favorite celebrity, who would that celebrity be, and where would we find the tattoo?
Well, I'm somebody who has, generally speaking, a lot of empathy, and I did an item in GISH where I did many items over the years in GISH, my scavenger hunt, where I encouraged people to get tattoos in exchange for points, which are basically worthless.
Yeah.
In the scavenger hunt,
And one year I had them get a tattoo of the Pope. So there are a lot of people that have tattoos of the Pope on their asses. And when I say a lot, probably thousands. And I saw that and I felt a little bit of compunction because what a horrible thing to do to someone. And then I see these tattoos of, like, you know, people have tattoos of my face. And I think, oh, you know, why would you do that? But I get it. You know, that makes sense. So in sort of an act of empathy, I have got a tattoo of my own face on my ass. And it's also useful because if I ever happen to be naked, like a lot of people don't really know other people by their like rear view. And so it's a handy reminder, really. Like somebody doesn't have to look at my face to know who I am. It's like, that's me. You know? And I did a tattoo of me and it's really winking. So it's like, I know you're checking my naked ass out. I see you. So it's also practical.
Pics or it didn't
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Then show the canvas.
I also like the idea of that just being because I'm a caring person. That's why I did it. It's empathy that got me to get a tattoo of my own face on myself. Does anyone have a Pope tattoo here? Oh, thank God.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you for asking.
And I want to ask you about I know after the yesterday that you have your kids, you went to Atlanta to start shooting Gotham Knights. How has that experience been for the last 2 weeks compared to, you know, you played Castiel for so long and he was such a part of you, and now you're playing Harvey Dent and it's all new?
Well, so I've started filming a new show called Gotham Knights, and I'm playing Harvey Dent, which is this. It's real cool. It's a character in the Batman universe, and Tommy Lee Jones is one of my favorite actors. He played Harvey Dent. I wasn't actually. I thought he did a totally terrible job with Harvey Dent. It's his career worst performance, but I love Tommy Lee Jones, and it's very cool to play a character that is human. I'm really enjoying that aspect because there was something about Castiel that was like everything was filtered through this almost alien persona, and so I'm able to like dial in and connect as a human, which is really cool, but also there's a very complicated human, and we're getting to explore that. I have to be very careful because I keep getting in trouble for spoiling things. It's a fascinating character and a very complicated character very quickly in the series, which is really just super fun to play. Yeah, I like it. And it's also, and then comparing this to like the experience on Supernatural, like on set, these cast, like all the rest of the cast members are just super excited to be there, and they're working their butts off, and everybody is just bringing their A game every day on set so far, and that's been really cool. And like while we're filming the scenes, there's no one tickling my balls with a broom. And so that makes it easier to dial into the actual material. Am I going to say that I don't think there aren't aspects of that I miss? You know, certainly there are. It was a perk of the job, I have to say.
There have been a couple of scenes where I've been like, just waiting for it to come, and it doesn't. And I'm like, right, I have to readjust to this new work environment. We do at the beginning of every year on every set, there's a sexual harassment seminar. And I'm looking back on my experience on Supernatural. I should have raised my hand on here before. Let me ask you a quick question. Is it cool if a broom handle? Is that okay? They ask, it's like being in a classroom, you know, and they ask the participants, like, so here's a scenario. Some teamsters are standing by the water cooler talking about a sexual experience they had the weekend before, and a cast member walks nearby and overhears it. Does that constitute sexual harassment? And people are raising their hands and weighing in. I would love to present some of my scenarios. But I won't. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So my name is Crystal.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi, and I am...
You have a very bright presentation here. That's very nice. You enunciate well.
I appreciate it, thank you. So my daughter cannot be up here.
You work in animation voiceover?
I should. My
Yes, you
husband
should.
actually calls me a Disney princess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he does. He says I wake up and I hit the ground running, and the bunnies and the birds help me with the laundry in the morning.
That's amazing. Well, how did you train them?
Magic. Anyway, so I'm asking this question on behalf of my daughter.
Okay.
So my daughter created a Sam and Dean playlist for when they are driving in the car. So if Cass is driving with them, what would he listen to?
Well, I actually have an answer for this because when I got the role of Castiel, I had just taken this acting class, and they were like, when you're like developing a character, you should really immerse yourself in all of the aspects of the character. And think about things like, you know, their past and childhood, and their relationship with the other characters, and the kind of music they listen to. And so I started listening to Rachmaninoff's Vespers, and I was like, well, that I guess is Castiel's music. And then it actually stopped weirdly, and I was like, that actually really fits because it's actually I love them, really lovely pieces. But that was the answer.
I love it.
Until
Thank you.
Cass started watching television and was singing the greatest theme song to the greatest American hero. You know, fun fact, in the original script for that episode where Castiel is taking care of a baby, I don't know if you remember or if you've ever even watched the show, but Castiel was supposed to be trying to soothe the baby back to sleep, and the only song that he could think of in the first version of the script was Highway to Hell. So it's Highway to Hell to baby, which I had to I practice singing Highway to Hell in a lullaby form. It was quite funny. But then it turns out they were going to have to pay $100,000 for the rights to the song. But they could do the theme song to the Greatest American Hero because it was a Warner Brothers show. For free. So that's what we did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hey Misha, as I'm here with my official GISH minion and actually got to fly in 3 of my GISH members,
That's amazing.
is there a level of you will not make us go, like has an item been submitted that you have said, no, we will not put them through us? Or one that you thought was that level and we did it anyway?
What kind of a person do you think I
Damn it, Misha, a lot.
am? There have been a lot of items that certainly, yes, of course, we do items all the time
there's a curation process. Like the list all year long, things crop up in a conversation at dinner, and I'll take a note and be like, that would be a great GISH item. I would love to see, human remains spread all over a birthday party or something like that. And then later, when we're reviewing the list, I can look at it again and say, oh, maybe that's not a great item. Where would they find the body? But we have a process, and we try to filter things out as much as possible. Like, oh, is that going to be like incredibly offensive, incredibly dangerous, or illegal? Those are some of the the filters that we apply. Sometimes things slip through, and people have been court-martialed for doing GISH items, sadly. And I feel bad about that, but they were getting useless points, so. I think it was maybe the first or second, second year of GISH, right around in there. There was an item that was like a fully decorated Christmas tree that's levitated with helium balloons, and you had to get a lot of balloons to get a Christmas tree to float. But of course, then they just keep floating. And then regional airports have to shut down because of Christmas trees in the airspace. Which I know is super dangerous, and someone could have someone could have been maimed or killed, but I was super proud of that. There was another, speaking of Christmas trees, there was another item, it was also year 1 or year 2, which was wrap yourself in Christmas tree lights and stand on the peak of a roof at night. And the first submissions came back, and it was this 3-story house with a slate roof and a steep peak on the roof. And there was somebody completely tangled up in Christmas tree lights wrapped all around them. And I immediately sent out an email like, do not, everyone, that item is canceled. There's no way there would have been a 100% survival rate on that item. And then the kids will throw items in the list, and one was like an actual boat on an actual airplane flying. And then a lot of people who were like pilots or whatever, they wrote in complaints about that item because people were going to die. So we took it out.
Making sure there was a filter and there was a limit.
There is a limit.
At least somewhere.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Misha. I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
So I have a 2-part question.
Okay.
Okay, so outside of Supernatural, what's been your favorite project, and why is it Stonehenge Apocalypse?
That's a great question. I do feel like you're leading the witness a bit. I finished my first year of shooting on Supernatural, and then I got an offer. I had already gone back up to Vancouver to get an apartment and get some stuff sorted out. I got an offer to do this starring role in a film. It's a major motion picture.
Super major.
And I am the starring role. So I was like, hell yes, I'm gonna do this. And I got the script and I read it, and I was like, this is good stuff. Stonehenge Apocalypse is about, nobody's really sure what it's about. But
I was really hoping you would explain that part.
I am Dr. Jacob Glazier, and I am a conspiracy theorist who is then unlocking the fact that there are these weird things going on. But it turns out, I don't know what it turns out. Anyway, long story short, I saved the world, but I ended up I think a nuclear bomb gets dropped on me at the end.
It's sort of a question mark ending.
Anyway, yeah, but it was heroic nonetheless, and super confusing. And I filmed that whole thing thinking it was a real movie, and trying to I took it very seriously. Every scene, I was really in it, trying to do my best job. And then at one point, we were toward the end of filming, and I was talking to the director, who was also the writer, who had also done a lot of other movies for the Sci-Fi Channel, which I guess these get aired on Saturday night. And the notes that he would get back from the Sci-Fi Channel were, you have to make this dumber, and you have to have no plot. Because people watch this, and as they're watching They're watching it as it airs live, and they're all getting drunker and drunker as the stream goes on. People are all playing drinking games while they watch this, and they have to be able to come. We have to be able to come back from a commercial break and have people not remember anything that happened before, and still sort of be able to follow a storyline. So that was the material that we were working with.
I actually bought the movie.
You bought it?
I did, yeah. It was like $5 on Prime, so I still did.
Paid too much.
$5 I overspent.
We were snubbed by the Oscars. I'll say that. I don't know what happened. I think we were ahead of our time. Yeah.
Hi, Misha. I'm Amy from Minnesota.
Hi, Amy.
And my question is, if Cass had to swap out his trench coat for a different coat, what kind of coat would it be?
Probably another trench coat. Which is exactly what Cass did. When I got on Supernatural, I went in for a fitting, and I thought I was going to be there for a couple of episodes, and they threw me in this. It was the description of the character was like a rumpled suit, kind of like a disheveled tax accountant with a trench coat a la Constantine. So like this template was like try to look a little bit like Constantine, but a little frumpy. So they put me in this suit, and it did not fit at all. Luckily, I had this trench coat, which also didn't fit. It was way too big, but everything was just way too big. My shirt size was like, I wore a 15 and a half, and it was an 18. Oh. So it was like billowing out like this. But I would always just like chuck it in and like fold again in the back, and then I didn't try a second suit on or a second shirt on. I just went in and I was like, whatever, it's a couple episodes, who cares? And then 3 years later, I'm still wearing the exact same stuff that does not fit at all. And I finally went into wardrobe and I'm like, I'm sorry to be a pain, but this doesn't fit at all. Like they were like, took off the trench coat. I'm like, oh my God, why didn't you say something? And also, we're shooting in Vancouver in the winter, and I had like on these basically like men's slippers, these tiny like little dress shoes that my feet were always, they were too small, and my feet were always freezing. So they're like, why didn't you say something? So they put me in a pair of Blundstones, which are like these big Australian boots, and then changed my suit, and then I was like, it still looks really frumpy. So then I wrote an email to the showrunners, and I was like, can I just look a little like have something that's a little better fitting? Can we just change it somehow? And they were like, sure, yeah, we'll work that out. So I came back for the next season and did a fitting, and they had an all new trench coat and all new suit, and it was actually like better fitting and like a little bit more modern. I was like, that's cool. No mention of it in the script. Cass just suddenly went out shopping and got a whole new wardrobe at the beginning of season 8 or whatever it was, and no mention of it whatsoever. Isn't that great? Because they know the audience is not paying attention. And then we did it again. We did it with my tie. Changed my tie, took the tie off, put the tie on. There's no mention of anything. It's just fine. Nobody cares.
Without the coat.
You don't see me without the trench coat. That's right.
I didn't notice the tie though.
Did you notice the change in the trench coat though?
Yes.
You did notice?
Tie, yes.
Did you watch the whole show? 5 times? Wow. That's amazing.
5 episodes.
The trench coats are ranked?
Yeah.
What is the ranking?
Original, then...
There's 3, right? I had 3. Yeah. Huh. All right, the original was the best, so why did I mess with it? Good question. Thanks for asking. I think the answer, though, is just more trench coats. Hi. Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So my question is about Gotham Knights, and we've been filming for like a couple weeks, maybe a week, and I was wondering, because you're kind of like a show veteran by now, because you've been on Supernatural for so long,
Like, what's the dynamic on set like? Like, do the younger actors like talk to you or ask questions about stuff?
You know, it's funny, nobody does know. I wonder what that's about. I actually have only filmed a couple of days. We were doing a lot of prep, like fight training and wardrobe fittings, and just getting to know each other. A couple of rehearsals, things like that. And it's so fascinating to be at that stage of life where I'm the seasoned veteran and there are these young actors who are coming in. A lot of the cast members, other regular cast members range in age from 17 to 29, but they're mostly early 20s. So it's funny, I still think of myself as being youthful and having like a long life ahead of me, and that turns out to not be the case. They think of me as super old, and I have to recalibrate. Like, all right, I am actually old enough to be any of their father, which is strange. And maybe the 17-year-old I could pull off grandfather, I think. So it's cool though. When I joined Supernatural, I was, like Jared and Jensen, they were very early on, sort of, that they passed on a few things, like be gracious to the crew, don't be an asshole, things that show up knowing your lines, like show up carrying your weight. There are a lot of times when people, when you're a lead cast on a TV show, the whole apparatus is designed to cater to prima donnas. Because if an actor wants to throw a monkey wrench in the works and not come out of their trailer, they can bring production to a grinding halt. And so everyone tiptoes around actors, everyone dotes on actors, everyone gives them everything that they want and ask for, and it can kind of go to your head really quickly. And so it's good for there to be someone around to say, don't let it go to your head. Still keep being a good person, because it just becomes toxic and unpleasant to work in an environment where people are like, start to believe that they're actually better than other people because they're getting this kind of special treatment. They're only getting a special treatment because other actors have been assholes in the past. And we're all just working together to try to make a project as good as we can. And we all depend on one another. I mean, it's incredible how much the entire crew depends on each individual on the set. If anyone isn't pulling their weight, the whole thing starts to crumble. So, I don't know, I'm trying to impart a little bit of that message, and I'm also trying to encourage them to figure out ways to get as much as they can for free out of production. So it's a balance of like trying to figure out how to exploit the system, but also appear to be kind while you do that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My question for you is, cast has so many different variants, just all sorts of different personalities throughout the series, and I'm just curious, which is your favorite version of cast, or which one was like the hardest to adapt to?
The favorite, well, first of all, my favorite is Castiel, just because I actually, it's the only time I've actually come to love a fictional character. Like, he was like, my God. And it's such a weird thing, but it's actually true. Like, he became a real thing to me. But I really love playing Lucifer. I don't know what that says about me, but there was just something about that I loved. Mark Pellegrino, who had sort of set the table for that character, told me, like, in every scene, when I go to every scene, I'm looking at the other characters thinking, I either want to kill them or fuck them. And I was like, well, that'll be fun. Great. And then there was one that was really challenging. It was Crazy Cass. I never figured that out. I remember getting on set for the first day. Ben was the writer and producer at that time, who also was directing that episode. And we went into like the first scene. He was like, okay, so let's try it where you're like really manic and really crazy and like really like clownishly crazy. So we did a take, and he was like, he came back in and he was like, okay, let's try one where you're really subdued and really casual. And it was like the opposite note. And then we did another take, and then he was like, I don't know. And then walked away with my confidence completely shattered. And also me not knowing what the hell I should be doing with this character. But you know, in TV, there's no time. Like, you don't spend a lot of time rehearsing. You come to set and you basically go through it once for a blocking rehearsal, so the cameras know where to go, and then you start filming. And that's it. And so there we were filming, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I kept looking to Ben, and he kept being like, great. So yeah, that one was fun. Thanks.
I'm Savannah, and I just wanted to start off saying that some things I still can't tell you is beautiful, wonderful, and super powerful. I'm a poet myself, so I just kind of wanted to ask you, like, what is your creative process when you start writing poems? Is it like a memory, a line, and then you go with it, or a feeling?
I think that it's usually, there's some little like germ of, there's some little seed of some experience. It's usually some experience that then just starts to coalesce as a vague idea in my head, and I will just see if I can put it down as a poem. And most of the time it doesn't really work out to be a poem, or not a poem that I would want to share. But I like that process. It's almost like seeing there's something there, and then see if I can scrape the dirt away from it and see if it's a pretty thing or not. You know what I mean? But it's like I catch a glimmer in the dark recesses of my mind. Like, maybe there's something there. I've been having, it's hard for me to go away from the kids, so this decision to go film in Atlanta while they're in Southern California is like a little far for me. It's bringing up a lot of emotions that are then like poking at me in a way that beckons me to sit down and write about it. I think part of it is just like reflective, free therapy that I can conduct on myself, and part of it is just wanting to find some way to convey, even if only to myself, to like articulate the feelings that are coming up. And then one other thing that happens to me quite often with poems is that when I'm running, like out running in a park or something, my brain kind of tends to shut down, and then sometimes the poems just come to me. Also, recipes come to me while I'm running. It's like all of a sudden my mouth starts watering, and I'm like, that would be a great combination. I'm going to do that tonight. So I don't know. It's weird. It's like when there's a certain space in my mind, sometimes things can just like crop up. Hi. Hi. I want to move you today. It's not, I really like that. Don't hurt you. Hi.
I was wondering, have you ever took a role in either television or movies, past or present, would be like a dream role, or just a role that you just really wanted to do? What would it be?
Sorry, that was a private moment. But it's clouding my brain, and I can't think of anything else. I mean, I want to be honest with you. Right now, I'm playing this role, Harvey Dent. And the way I've had a lot of conversations with the showrunners about what the arc of the character is going to be over this season. And it's like, my God, if I don't love doing this role, I probably should be doing something else for a living, because it's gonna be so meaty and so great, and it's gonna be such a fascinating ride. So It's kind of cool to me. So the answer is present, and what I'm doing right now, which is really a cool place to be. It's a great cast. It's also the scripts I really love so far, but in particular, the narcissist in me really loves this particular role, and I can't wait to really get into the juicy stuff of it. Yeah. I can't tell you anything about it, so it doesn't make a great story. But do we have time for one more question? Okay, one last question.
Hi, Misha. I'm Shelby. My question for you is, which side of your face would you prefer to have melted off?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Yeah. Probably this one. I told them about the tattoo of my face that I have on my own ass.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, oh, right.
that would probably be a no-brainer.
It's really nice if you're able to choose.
Yeah.
Bad news is half your face is getting melted off. The good news is you can choose.
I think I've always assumed that it's going to be this one. Is that backwards?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit. I changed my mind. I don't want to do this role. It's going to be terrible. That's my good side.
It's all good. It's all good. Both sides are good.
I think you're going to get the bottom half of my face.
Yeah, switch it up.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing that now. Well, guys, how was it?